The Sound of Music, 1965. Few films shaped childhoods across generations like The Sound of Music. Released in 1965, it starred Julie Andrews as Maria, the governess who brought joy and music back to the Von Trapp family. With songs like Do Re Mi, My Favorite Things, and Edelweiss, it became a sing-along treasure. The film was a runaway success, and with decades of re-releases, its accumulated worldwide gross has been estimated at over $280 million, ranking it among the top earners of its era. For children, it opened the door to storytelling through music and emotion, while families embraced it as a tradition, rewatched year after year until it felt like part of growing up. Mary Poppins, 1964. A year before The Sound of Music, Julie Andrews had already captured children's imaginations with Mary Poppins. Blending live action with animation, it brought a magical nanny to London who floated in by umbrella and turned everyday life into adventure. Songs like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and A Spoonful of Sugar slipped straight into childhood vocabulary. The film earned about $31 million in North America and close to $100 million worldwide in its original run. An enormous figure for the time, and went on to win 5 Oscars, including Best Actress for Andrews. For kids, it wasn't simply entertainment. It was a world of wonder where even chores or medicine could sparkle with joy. Okay, if you're still here, you're probably into this stuff, which is great. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe. All right, back to the video. The Lion King, 1994. Disney's The Lion King was more than a box office hit. It became a cultural landmark. Released in 1994, it earned nearly $1 billion worldwide, making it the highest-grossing animated film of its era. The story of Simba's rise from exile to king combined Shakespearean tragedy with family adventure, while the soundtrack by Elton John and Hans Zimmer turned Circle of Life and Hakuna Matata into songs every kid knew by heart. The animation pushed Disney forward, especially in the wildebeest stampede scene, which used cutting-edge computer techniques. Beyond numbers and awards, it was the movie kids rewound on VHS until the tape wore thin. For many, The Lion King was not just a cartoon, it was the epic that defined growing up. Cinderella, 1950. Disney's Cinderella was a return to form for the studio after World War II, and it became one of the most enduring fairy tales in cinema. Released in 1950, it told the story of kindness and perseverance winning out against cruelty, wrapped in unforgettable songs like A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes and the dazzling ballroom sequence. The film was a massive success, saving Disney financially at the time and cementing Cinderella as one of the most recognizable princesses in the world. For kids, it was the ultimate fantasy of magic, transformation, and happily ever after. The Neverending Story, 1984. For kids in the 1980s, The Neverending Story was unlike anything else. Released in 1984, it followed Bastian as he entered a book that came alive with dragons, dark forces, and the magical land of Fantasia. Falkor the Luck Dragon became one of the most beloved creatures in fantasy cinema, while scenes like Atreyu's struggle in the swamp of sadness left emotional scars that kids never forgot. The film blended imagination, wonder, and heartbreak in a way that made it unforgettable. For children, it wasn't just a story. It felt like stepping into a world that might exist just beyond their bookshelves. Chitty, Chitty, Bang Bang, 1968. Released in 1968, Chitty, Chitty, Bang Bang was the kind of whimsical adventure that made kids believe cars could fly. Written by Ian Fleming, better known for James Bond, and produced by Albert R. Broccoli, the film blended fantasy, catchy songs, and eccentric inventors. The car itself became iconic, while Dick Van Dyke brought humor and warmth to the role of Caractacus Potts. Though not the biggest hit at first, it lived on through TV airings and home video, turning into a cult favorite. For kids, it wasn't just a movie, it was proof that magic could exist on 4 wheels. Annie, 1982. The big screen adaptation of the Broadway hit brought the story of the little orphan with endless optimism to kids everywhere. Released in 1982, Annie delivered songs like Tomorrow and It's the Hard Knock Life, which became instant earworms for children. Carol Burnett's turn as Miss Hannigan added just the right dose of villainy, balancing Annie's sunny outlook. While critics were divided, kids adored it, and its constant reruns made it a generational favorite. Annie wasn't just entertainment, It was a story about hope, resilience, and finding family in unexpected places. Toy Story, 1995. Pixar's Toy Story changed everything. It was the first fully computer-animated feature film, and in 1995, that felt like science fiction come to life. But it wasn't just the technology that made it magic. The story of Woody and Buzz Lightyear competing for Andy's attention captured the imagination of every kid who ever believed their toys had secret lives. It was funny, emotional, and timeless. The voice acting by Tom Hanks and Tim Allen gave it heart, and the writing balanced humor with moments of real depth. Toy Story wasn't just a movie, it was a shift in what animation could be, and it launched Pixar into a league of its own. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, 2001. When Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone hit theaters in 2001, it wasn't just a film release, it was an event. Fans who had devoured the books finally got to see Hogwarts, Quidditch, and Diagon Alley come alive on screen. The casting was perfect, from Daniel Radcliffe as Harry to Alan Rickman's unforgettable Snape. The movie grossed over $970 million worldwide and became one of the highest-earning films of its decade. For kids, it wasn't about numbers. It was about walking into a world that felt real. Harry Potter was more than a fantasy. It was an invitation to believe in magic just beyond the ordinary. The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Few films are as central to childhood as The Wizard of Oz. Released in 1939, it stunned audiences with its leap from black and white Kansas to the Technicolor world of Oz. Judy Garland's performance as Dorothy and her song Over the Rainbow became instantly iconic. The Yellow Brick Road, The Wicked Witch, and The Emerald City entered pop culture forever. Though not an immediate box office giant, TV broadcasts turned it into a generational tradition, with kids everywhere waiting each year to watch Dorothy find her way home. It was more than a film, it was the definition of childhood fantasy. Finding Nemo, 2003. Pixar struck again with Finding Nemo, an underwater adventure that made kids look at aquariums in a whole new way. The story of Marlin crossing the ocean to rescue his son combined colorful animation with real emotion. Dory, voiced by Ellen DeGeneres, became one of the most beloved side characters in animation, turning "just keep swimming" into a phrase kids repeated endlessly. The film earned over $940 million and won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. But its true legacy is how it blended laughter with lessons about family, courage, and letting go. Home Alone, 1990. Few live-action family films hit as hard as Home Alone. Released in 1990, it followed Kevin McAllister outsmarting burglars with booby traps after being left behind by his family. The slapstick comedy was perfect for kids, but it also had heart, showing Kevin's loneliness and eventual reunion. Macaulay Culkin became a household name overnight, and the movie turned into a Christmas staple. Grossing over $476 million worldwide, it was the highest-grossing live-action comedy for more than 2 decades. For kids, it was pure fantasy. What would happen if you really had the house to yourself? Shrek, 2001. DreamWorks turned fairy tales upside down with Shrek. Released in 2001, it wasn't just another animated film. It was a parody of the Disney formula kids had grown up with. Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona brought humor that worked for both children and adults, filled with jokes, music, and heart. The film made over $480 million worldwide and won the very first Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Its mix of pop culture references and emotional storytelling turned it into a cultural juggernaut, with kids quoting Donkey for years and blasting All-Star on repeat. E.T., the Extraterrestrial, 1982. Steven Spielberg's E.T. defined childhood wonder for an entire generation. The story of a lonely boy befriending an alien felt simple, but it struck a chord worldwide. Kids saw themselves in Elliot, hiding E.T. from adults and dreaming of bikes that could fly across the moon. The movie earned nearly $800 million and became the highest-grossing film of its time. More importantly, it gave kids a story about friendship, loss, and hope. Decades later, the image of E.T.'s glowing finger or that bike silhouette against the moon still carries magic. Aladdin, 1992. Disney's Aladdin gave kids a magical ride through Agrabah with dazzling animation, unforgettable songs, and Robin Williams' legendary performance as the genie. Released in 1992, it grossed over $500 million worldwide and won 2 Oscars for its music, including A Whole New World, which became a childhood anthem. The genie's rapid-fire humor made kids laugh, while Aladdin's story of self-discovery gave it heart. For many, this film was their introduction to Arabian Nights tales, wrapped in Disney magic that never faded. Jurassic Park, 1993. Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park was a cultural earthquake. In 1993, kids sat in theaters with jaws dropped as dinosaurs walked and roared with a realism no one had seen before. The blend of animatronics and groundbreaking CGI made the T-Rex and Velociraptors unforgettable, setting a new bar for movie spectacle. The film earned about $912 million worldwide in its original run, and later crossed the billion-dollar mark through re-releases, cementing its status as a box office titan. For children, though, the numbers didn't matter. The thrill of a theme park where dinosaurs came alive. A dream equal parts terrifying and magical. Beauty and the Beast, 1991. When Disney released Beauty and the Beast in 1991, it didn't just charm kids, it made history. It was the first animated film ever nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture, proving cartoons could stand alongside live-action dramas. The romance between Belle and the Beast, paired with Alan Menken's soaring music, gave kids a story that felt bigger than fairy tale magic. Be Our Guest and Beauty and the Beast became instant classics, while the ballroom dance scene set a new benchmark for animation. For many children, this was their introduction to Disney's golden age of musicals. Matilda, 1996. Adapted from Roald Dahl's book, Matilda captured the dream every kid secretly had, discovering powers to fight back against unfair adults. Released in 1996, it starred Mara Wilson as the brilliant, kind-hearted Matilda, with Danny DeVito directing and playing her awful father. The villainous Miss Trunchbull became one of the most terrifying characters in kids' cinema. The movie wasn't a box office smash at first, but on VHS, it exploded, becoming a staple of childhood sleepovers. It showed kids that intelligence, kindness, and courage could outmatch cruelty. The Little Mermaid, 1989. Disney's The Little Mermaid kicked off what became known as the Disney Renaissance. Released in 1989, it revived the studio with a wave of color, music, and magic. Ariel's story of longing to explore another world resonated with kids everywhere, while Under the Sea and Part of Your World became songs children sang over and over. It won 2 Oscars for its music and reintroduced audiences to the power of Disney musicals after a slump in the 1980s. For kids, it was pure enchantment, a story that made oceans feel alive with possibility. The Goonies, 1985. Few live-action films captured the feeling of being a kid better than The Goonies. Released in 1985, it followed a group of friends on a treasure hunt that led to pirate ships, booby traps, and narrow escapes. Directed by Richard Donner and produced by Steven Spielberg, it became an instant cult favorite. Kids saw themselves in the group of misfits, dreaming that one day their own neighborhood adventure could uncover hidden treasure. It wasn't just a movie, it was a fantasy of childhood itself, filled with danger, laughter, and loyalty. Monsters, Inc., 2001. Pixar's Monsters, Inc. turned childhood fears into comedy gold. The idea that monsters in closets worked a factory job harvesting screams was brilliant. But what made it magical was the heart. Sully and Mike's friendship, paired with their bond with Little Boo, gave the story real emotional weight. Released in 2001, it made over $560 million worldwide and won the Oscar for Best Original Song with If I Didn't Have You. Kids left theaters no longer afraid of the dark, but imagining a whole world of funny, lovable monsters living behind closet doors. The Sandlot, 1993. The Sandlot is one of those films that didn't need huge special effects or flashy set pieces to stick. Released in 1993, it was a simple story about kids playing baseball during one unforgettable summer. The characters, Smalls, Benny, Ham, felt real, and the legendary dog the Beast gave it just the right amount of myth. It became a sleepover favorite, quoted endlessly with lines like, "You're killing me, Smalls." While it wasn't a massive hit in theaters, VHS and cable turned it into a generational classic. For many kids, The Sandlot was childhood bottled up in a single movie. The Incredibles, 2004. Pixar's The Incredibles gave kids their first true animated superhero family. Released in 2004, it combined action, humor, and family drama in a way that felt bigger than animation had ever gone. The film grossed over $630 million worldwide and won 2 Oscars, including Best Animated Feature. But what stuck with kids wasn't the numbers. It was the fantasy of having powers at home. Super strength, speed, invisibility, and even a baby that could do it all. It was a superhero story grounded in family life, making it both epic and relatable. Hook 1991. Steven Spielberg's Hook reimagined Peter Pan for a new generation. Robin Williams starred as a grown-up Peter who had forgotten Neverland until Captain Hook, played by Dustin Hoffman, pulled him back in. The movie captured the tension between adulthood and childhood, showing kids and parents alike that imagination doesn't have to fade. While critics were mixed, kids adored it, and VHS gave it staying power long after theaters. For many, Hook wasn't just another fairy tale, it was a reminder that growing up doesn't mean losing the magic. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971. Adapted from Roald Dahl's book, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory blended fantasy with a strange, slightly eerie edge that made it unforgettable. Gene Wilder's performance as Willy Wonka kept kids guessing, was he a whimsical genius or someone more dangerous? The film was only a modest success at release, but reruns and home video turned it into a childhood classic. From the Oompa Loompa songs to the Chocolate River, every scene felt like a dream brought to life. For kids, it was pure imagination, with just enough weirdness to make it unforgettable. The Iron Giant, 1999. Brad Bird's The Iron Giant wasn't a box office hit when it released in 1999, but over time it became one of the most beloved animated films of its era. The story of a boy who befriends a massive robot during the Cold War carried themes of friendship, sacrifice, and identity that resonated deeply with kids who found it later on VHS and cable. The climactic line, "I am Superman," became iconic, and the movie grew into a cult classic. For kids, it was a reminder that heroes can come from anywhere, even from outer space. Hocus Pocus, 1993. When Hocus Pocus hit theaters in 1993, it wasn't a smash, but VHS and yearly Halloween broadcasts turned it into a childhood tradition. The Sanderson sisters, played by Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, brought humor, songs, and just enough spookiness to make it perfect for kids. Over time, it became a seasonal ritual with lines and songs burned into memory. For many, Halloween didn't feel complete without it. Hocus Pocus is proof that some movies don't need an opening weekend to become childhood legends. Spider-Man, 2002. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man brought superheroes back to the center of childhood. Released in 2002, it starred Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker and captured the fantasy of swinging through New York City like no film before it. The upside-down kiss, the Green Goblin's menace, and the journey of "with great power comes great responsibility" hit kids hard. It grossed over $820 million worldwide and became the blueprint for the superhero boom that followed. For kids, it wasn't about numbers, it was about imagining what it would feel like to put on the mask. Ratatouille, 2007. Pixar's Ratatouille turned a rat into one of the most beloved chefs in cinema. Released in 2007, it blended Parisian charm with a message kids could hold on to. Greatness can come from the most unexpected places. The animation captured food with such detail that audiences swore they could almost taste it. Remy's journey from the sewers to the kitchen showed kids the value of persistence and passion. It grossed over $600 million worldwide and won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. But its real legacy was inspiring kids to believe that even impossible dreams could be cooked up. The Princess Diaries, 2001. Gary Marshall's The Princess Diaries gave kids the ultimate fantasy, an ordinary teenager discovering she is royalty. Released in 2001, it starred Anne Hathaway in her breakout role, alongside Julie Andrews as her regal grandmother. The transformation scenes from clumsy Mia to polished princess became instant classics. The film earned over $165 million worldwide and launched a sequel. But for kids, it was less about box office and more about wish fulfillment. It was a fairy tale set in modern life, showing that anyone could be special without losing who they really are. Bedknobs and Broomsticks, 1971. Released in 1971, Bedknobs and Broomsticks carried the same Disney magic that made Mary Poppins a hit, mixing live action with animation in a story of wartime England touched by sorcery. Angela Lansbury starred as Eglantine Price, a trainee witch who uses a magical bedknob to transport 3 children on wild adventures. With songs, animated battle scenes, and a blend of fantasy and history, it became a TV and VHS staple long after theaters. For kids, it was a ride into a world where ordinary furniture could whisk you into magic. Peter Pan, 1953. Disney's animated Peter Pan brought J.M. Barrie's classic tale to life for kids in 1953. Flying off to Neverland with Peter, Wendy, and the Lost Boys became one of the ultimate childhood fantasies. Captain Hook and Tinker Bell became iconic characters, and songs like You Can Fly captured the spirit of imagination. Generations of children grew up reenacting Peter's flight or pretending to fight pirates in the backyard. The film wasn't just a hit, it became Disney's blueprint for childhood adventure that never grows old. Sleeping Beauty, 1959. Disney's Sleeping Beauty was a landmark in animation, released in 1959 with a widescreen format and a bold, painterly style that set it apart. Princess Aurora, the 3 good fairies, and the villainous Maleficent gave it a timeless quality, with Once Upon a Dream becoming a classic Disney song. While it wasn't a huge success at first, repeated theatrical re-releases turned it into one of Disney's crown jewels. For kids, it was the ultimate fairy tale brought to life, mixing elegance, magic, and one of the most memorable villains ever drawn. Back to the Future, 1985. Released in 1985, Back to the Future became an instant cultural phenomenon. The story of Marty McFly traveling back to 1955 in Doc Brown's DeLorean blended sci-fi, comedy, and heart in a way that hooked kids and adults alike. The hoverboards, the flux capacitor, and even Marty's red vest became part of pop culture. It grossed over $380 million worldwide and launched a trilogy that defined childhood adventure in the 80s. For kids, it wasn't just about time travel. It was about the fantasy of changing your own story, one crazy invention at a time. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, 2003. When Pirates of the Caribbean hit theaters in 2003, no one expected a movie based on a theme park ride to become a global sensation. But Johnny Depp's eccentric Jack Sparrow, sword fights, ghostly pirates, and sweeping adventure made it an instant childhood favorite. It grossed over $650 million worldwide and revived the swashbuckling genre for a new generation. Kids left theaters imagining themselves sailing ships, hunting treasure, and outsmarting villains. Pirates of the Caribbean gave childhood adventure a new face, one that mixed comedy, danger, and pure escapism. The Parent Trap, 1998. For kids in the late 90s and early 2000s, Lindsay Lohan's The Parent Trap remake became a staple. Released in 1998, it followed separated twins who meet at summer camp and hatch a plan to reunite their parents. The mix of comedy, heart, and clever kid schemes made it endlessly rewatchable. It wasn't just about the plot. It was about the fantasy of being clever enough to outsmart adults. The movie built a strong following on VHS and Disney Channel reruns, turning it into one of those childhood comfort films that never faded away. Lilo and Stitch, 2002. Disney's Lilo and Stitch felt smaller than the epic princess tales, but its heart made it just as impactful. Released in 2002, it told the story of a Hawaiian girl who adopts what she thinks is a dog, only to discover he is an alien experiment. The film balanced chaos and comedy with an emotional core about family, highlighted by the now iconic line, "Ohana means family." While not the biggest Disney hit at release, it exploded in popularity on home video and merchandising, cementing Stitch as one of Disney's most beloved modern characters. For kids, it was pure warmth mixed with wild fun. Which of these movies made your childhood magical? Or did we miss one of your favorites? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. I'll be posting a lot more videos here, so give us a comment on what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.